Welcome to Diaspora UA, where we're bringing you a shocking story that you won't hear in the mainstream news. While the American people support Ukraine and the Ukrainian people are grateful for it, most are unaware that recently leaked Pentagon papers revealed that Ukraine isn't even receiving sufficient ammunition, let alone modern weapons, to adequately protect their civilian and peaceful cities. In fact, according to the chairman of the U.S. House of Foreign Affairs, Michael McCaul, Ukraine is receiving only 20% of the announced financial aid. Ukraine needs more military equipment, rather than increased cash, to protect its civilians. President Biden can utilize the Lend-Lease law, which was approved by the U.S. Congress and signed by him a year ago. Lend-Lease could provide Cold War-era weapons sitting and used in U.S. warehouses, which are too old for the U.S. Army but still effective in defense against the Russian army. It could save tens of thousands of Ukrainian lives and billions of dollars for U.S. taxpayers. However, after signing it almost a year ago, he hasn't mentioned it again. Let's raise awareness about this critical issue. Although some of you may already know it, we'll start from the beginning for those who are hearing it for the first time, to better understand what's going on. We will also release a new video, showing evidence and information of what we've said to back up our claims. But first, I would like to make an announcement and ask you to share this video because on April 23 in Washington, D.C., there will be another rally in support of Ukraine for the activation of the Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022 to protect the civilian populations in Ukraine from Russian military invasion. We invite everyone who cares about Ukraine's fate to join the rally starting at 1 p.m. in front of the White House. We will once again thank the American people and Congress for all the assistance they have already provided to Ukraine, and we also ask President Biden for the activation of the U.S. Lend-Lease law. For those unable to join our rally, please participate in our Twitter campaign, urging President Biden to honor the U.S. commitment to protect Ukraine at least by providing weapons for their defense, in accordance with the Budapest Memorandum. Some countries are clearly saying the U.S. betrayed Ukraine. In the 90s, the U.S., Russia, and Great Britain asked Ukraine to disarm their nuclear arsenal in exchange for protection. Ukraine complied and disarmed their third-largest nuclear arsenal, relying on the protection assured by the Budapest Memorandum. Before the war in February 19, 2022, at the Munich Security Conference, President Zelenskyy requested that the Budapest Memorandum be honored, but his request was ignored. As a result, Russia invaded Ukraine and the memorandum has not been mentioned. Ironically, Russia is now using the same weapons Ukraine gave up. The Budapest Memorandum is never mentioned in the big media, but ex-US President Bill Clinton expressed regret for disarming Ukraine. From the very beginning, it's worth mentioning and emphasizing that in addition to the physical war in Ukraine, there is also an information war that knows no borders. Let's consider, for example, the Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022, which was initially named to protect civilian populations in Ukraine from Russian military invasion. After the law was adopted by the U.S. Congress with an overwhelming majority of votes and signed into law by President Biden, he never mentioned it again. But when in December, General Zelenskyy, head of Ukraine's armed forces, said that success is not guaranteed without tanks and other equipment, the diaspora and U.S. citizens went to the White House for a peaceful rally, calling on President Biden to start the Lend-Lease. There are many preserved military vehicles in U.S. warehouses, from the Cold War reserves approximately 6,000 tanks and 1,300 previous generation helicopters that significantly surpass Russian military equipment and combat capabilities. Moreover, they have already been paid for by taxpayers, so there's no need to wait for the production of new ones or spend additional funds. In any case, the U.S. military will not be using this relatively obsolete equipment. At the rally, we met many different people from all over the United States, as well as representatives and leaders from many diaspora organizations. We even took interviews from some of them. For example, representatives of the Organization of American Veterans of Ukrainian Origin were among the attendees, as well as many other people such as doctors, writers, and other professionals. We will not mention their names, as these people are not involved in this video or our initiative to clarify the situation. We will show you this video in a few minutes, based on our own initiative. Therefore, these veterans should not be held responsible for this matter. Following our announcement, Leaders from many Ukrainian organizations promised to support us at the next rally, where we would protest the lack of action from the Biden administration in regards to the Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022, which Biden had 60 days to enact as voted and passed by Congress in May 9, 2022. Unfortunately, a few days later, we started receiving messages that the Ukrainian embassy in the U.S. began calling these Ukrainian diaspora organizations or sending letters warning them not to join and support our rallies. It was hard to believe, so we called some organizations, and they, unfortunately, confirmed this. We also sent invitations to the largest organizations of the Ukrainian diaspora in the US, but we did not receive any response from any of them. It was hard to believe, even more so because Russia was the first to start spreading disinformation against Lend-Lease. However, after conducting some journalistic investigation, mainly from open sources, we realized that Russia or the FSB were not involved. We also noticed that Ukrainian officials started repeating disinformation about Lend-Lease as well. Although we know that President Zelenskyy speaks positively about it, and in his speech, he said that Ukraine finally has a direct path to victory and does not need to pay for this help, he probably forgot about Lend-Lease and never mentioned it again, even when he visited the US and had a chance to talk about it in Congress, or when Biden visited Ukraine in Kiev. However, after a small journalistic investigation, the response from the embassy did not seem to come from the Ukrainian government, but from some other source. It leaves a strong impression that the Ukrainian embassy in the US is not working in Ukraine's best interests because it receives orders from someone else. We have looked more closely at the activities of the Ukrainian ambassador Oksana Markarova, and in addition to her corrupt past in Ukraine, we have found some other facts. On June 16, Markarova said in an interview that Lend-Lease was not necessary now because the US government was providing weapons to Ukraine and that all cooperation between the Ukrainian embassy and the Biden administration was transparent and clear, contradicting the reports from multiple sources including top generals Zelenskyy and ex-US military volunteers that are at the front lines. Markarova was the #1 guest at the recent White House celebration, while all other honorary guests followed alphabetically. The Ukrainian diaspora has been intimidated by letters and calls warning them not to participate in rallies to activate Lend-Lease. At the same time, an international support group for Ukraine has faced a wave of discreditation in Ukrainian media as well as pro-Biden media and bloggers. Our channel and many others have been attacked, and even posts with threats have appeared, claiming that we are enemies of Ukraine and that Ukrainian security services should deal with us. For what? For coming to a peaceful rally in support of Ukraine, asking President Biden to start implementing the law passed almost unanimously by Congress and which he signed into law. However, the letters we received also contained instructions to take over these rallies and somehow influence them so that the terrible word Lend-Lease would not be there, as well as instructions to move the rally to another location, not near the White House. We have a strong impression that these warnings and instructions come from the Ukrainian embassy on the orders of the Biden team, since we know that the Biden team does not provide enough assistance and is not executing the law that he has signed himself. Therefore, before proceeding to the interview, share this video because on April 23rd there will be another rally in front of the White House and rallies every other week following. Please join in support of Ukraine and the activation of Lend-Lease. Maybe we can find out from Markarova personally why the Ukrainian embassy is behaving this way and on whose orders, since we never received any response from the embassy to our letters. We are trying to raise awareness and urge President Biden at least give all those weapons equals SCDF in the storage. We invite everyone who cares about Ukraine's fate to join us at the rally, which will start at 1 p.m. near the White House. We want to thank the American people and Congress for all the assistance provided to Ukraine and also ask them to activate the U.S. law regarding Lend-Lease for Ukraine. Our rallies are always peaceful and take place with the permission of local authorities. We condemn any violence or illegal actions and encourage people to bravely join us in supporting Ukraine. For those who can't attend our rally, please join our Twitter campaign to remind President Biden of the U.S. commitment to protect Ukraine. Tweeted him to activate the Lend-Lease U.S. law, providing weapons for their defense. Urge him to honor the Budapest Memorandum and uphold the U.S. assurance of protection as Ukraine relinquished the world's third-largest nuclear arsenal. Our channel will attempt to broadcast live, but please save our information and backup channels just in case. We have been warned not to publicize this information, and our channel may be shut down, like our colleague's channel was. Share your thoughts and impressions on how well our conclusions. Please share this video. Thank you very much for your attention.
Lend-Lease was approved in May, and it went into effect October 1st. It's been now 4 months since Lend-Lease was approved, and there is a stipulation within the law that the President of the United States is required to submit a report on how the White House and how the executive is putting Lend-Lease into effect. That hasn't been done yet, and I think many people simply don't know the extent to which Ukraine needs Lend-Lease. There are stories very common of people using their own cars to get to the front. People are looking for helmets. People looking for stores of ammunition because they run away. So that information isn't getting out. What the information is getting out is on a high diplomatic scale, but not the reality of what's going on. Thank you. We have our own chapter here in Washington.
Do you know how many people altogether, all members of the organization?
Well, here there's about only, in Washington, D.C., there's only about 12, but we are number 26, so multiply that. But Yarko Oreshkevich is our commander. He probably has the information.
30, 36, 37, Washington, and then you've got, I don't know, 30 or 40 hosts nationwide, and figure 20, 30 per each.
Do you think that maybe next time will be another such whatever meeting or gathering, more people could come from your organization?
Well, give more than 24 hours notice, of course, but sometimes in the past we've had these things. Darko and I have been, we've been here numerous times, and when you have a week's notice, yeah, you'll get 5. I have our Judge Advocate General, Hertak,
yes,
and then we have our commander, national commander. So anything that we do here locally, those two are always informed. And so if anybody needs to be informed nationally, I send out the message within 5 minutes. Everybody gets informed nationwide.